Welcome back to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason, and with my 25 years of development experience here at Startup Hack, we turn beginners into full-stack developers in as little as 3 months. Today, we're going to dive into why you should stop using the old csproj SDK format. Now, you don't want to be stuck into that old format, because if you see your csprojes look like this one, then that means that you're stuck into the old project format. And why do we want to change it? Well, let's dive in and talk about it. All right, so again, if your CS project look like this, and I'll make this a little bit larger for us here, if your CS project looks like this, then that means you're stuck in the old one. Now, the drawbacks to it is it uses manual file references, and in the old CS project formats, we don't want to have these old manual file references. And there's a lot of other reasons as well, and we're going to dive into some of those. So let's start tackling those today. Now, as always, make sure that you download our code samples, because we do provide a lot of code samples for free, entirely for free. And so make sure you go and download those. The comments is the links down in the comments below. Always make sure to download those. There's hundreds of code samples ranging across various different topics. So some of the drawbacks of the old csproj files is manual file references, right? And we want to get away from these, because then it means that we're getting stuck into how these file references are used. So this means that listing each file individually, leading to a cluttered and error-prone project file. We also want to manage the package management stinks. So if you have to reference DLLs directly in the location and the location changes, the error messages will not be helpful. Granted, Visual Studio handles a lot of this for you, but if you haven't used the new CS project formats, then you won't even know what you're missing. Now, I know as I work a lot across a lot of different cross-platform things, I'll be working with csproj files in Linux, in Ubuntu, or something like that at the command line, and I'll tell you, this really stinks if you have to use that. The other problem is that with workflows like Git, it becomes overly verbose, right? Where you have to review the csproj files, it can become really tricky, and having a compact file with information that is mostly useful to you in a glance helps. Now, lastly, you can't use .NET CLI. So imagine you could make a change instantly and have .NET Build, .NET Run, .NET Publish, etc. And you want to be able to use MSBuild in the background for everything. So like I said, if you're doing this on Ubuntu, you're going to be using MSBuild, and so Visual Studios may not even be there available if you're on a server where you only have command line available. So what we really want to do is create a new project, and this is the new project structure, right? And we want to actually begin by doing this. Now, our references. All right, so we've created the new csproj file, right? And we want to be able to start including the references. So if you're going to include a reference, you would include it something like this, and you can use these item groups, right? Now, this allows you to include, and if you have a bunch of these, you can include ... so that it'll include all of them, right? Now, if you do you have the reference statement that points to the DLL file, such as these? See, you can give it a hint path, and that will allow you to use relative pathing instead of the specific pathing. We can also add NuGet packages instead, and just by telling it to the name of the package and the version. Now, we can also tell it to ignore compile statements. So if you have statements like, you'll likely have statements that look like these, and then you'll also see the move statements. When you see a statement like this, it'll actually be able to move these files around as you need to. And so now we'd be able to add them into the glob pattern like this. So we don't want something like this. We want to be able to change it to look something like this. Right? And this is a copy to the new output directory, right? And then we've got these new references. So you can see the difference between these two, right? These are specific, and these ones are relative pathing. So now when you see something like this, you'll be able to change it to get even simpler to be able to do something like this, right? So this project used to require us to have these project IDs, and this, now we can just have it just point to the csproj file with a relative path. Then we can move all the target statements. So all the target statements like this should be migrated to using, those target statements can now be migrated to use something much more useful. And lastly, we can use this ignore import statement. And so this will allow us to be able to import all of these various different things. And then for the ASP.NET projects, if we're migrating an ASP.NET project, we found it very helpful to use the add the following statements. Now again, we can dive into our code samples here. Today there's not a whole lot of the code samples. We've given you a lot of them here. So as you work through these, you're going to want to try to start learning and using these new csproj structures. And I'll include a great reference down below so that as you have questions, you can go to the Microsoft documentation for you. Now, let me know the problems that you've had with these new structures. I'd be really curious to hear out. These are all still pretty new, so let me know what your thoughts are. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers. We love taking people who have zero experience and training them to be ready to start as a full-stack software developer in as little as 3 months. So make sure you check out the link and make sure you pull down the code samples and comment on the video and let me know what you think about it, because we always try to work to improve our videos. Thanks, and talk to you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.